So we'll start in just about a minute here. Do you
Okay.
want to just quickly introduce yourself and then your perspective on the topic?
Sure. I'm Nancy Kupal, the owner and founder of Coupa Cafe. There are three actually in Palo Alto, but the one that I wanted to discuss today is the one on Ramona Street, since the topic of pedestrian-friendly streets is coming up to City Council again on Monday.
Okay, great. Do you want to give your
Mm.
perspective?
Certainly. Well, I believe that pedestrian-friendly streets are something essential to quality of life. I think that something we adopted during the pandemic turned out to be actually something that we realized that we've been missing all along. People embrace it, they love it. To be feeling safe as you dine, as you have a coffee, as you meet with friends, as you take your kids out for some fun, a little piece of heaven in our downtown is something that turned out to be very, very special. And I'm hoping we're not going to lose it. I hope that everyone kind of gets that our streets really very harmonious. I know you've heard from several of the other businesses on the street. And the nice thing, we all work together there. It's a lot less complicated than what you will have to discuss and face on Calaf. It's also very special because it's a historical street. So you have the most beautiful buildings in all of downtown there. And it's actually for the first time appreciated because people actually see it, they live it. And we live in California. You have the most amazing weather most of the year. Very few days is it too cold. Very few days. I mean, I'm very surprised because even on days when it's cold, I have customers who'd
Mm.
much rather be outside than indoors. Habits are not going to change because of COVID, because COVID's not going anywhere. It's here to stay, and we're going to deal with it every year with vaccines. But I think even more important is this quality of life issue. And I sent you an email with points to consider because it's part of the new urbanism. And many cities around California and around the world have embraced this idea of either the pedestrian mall or pedestrian friendly streets. So that's where I'm coming from.
Okay, great. And what are your thoughts on there are some folks who especially the retailers really are concerned that the lack of car traffic is hurting sales. What's your thoughts about that?
Well, I would tell you, you want to see what happened when you opened up University Avenue? So that's your proof. Unfortunately, a lot of people left Avenue with the street open to cars. I honestly don't think it's having a pedestrian friendly street that is negative to all kinds of retail. I believe that um, times have changed, habits have changed, realities have changed, and a lot of the retail needs to kind of adapt to that and maybe rethink their hours of when people are most on the street, and the fact that offices are not back and they're not coming back. If I would have sat around and waited for all the offices to come back without trying to drum up business in many other ways, I probably wouldn't be in Palo Alto anymore. And I can tell you from my Lytton Avenue street compared to Ramona, I have not recovered on Lytton. It's a dead street. There's not enough train traffic. People are not getting off the trains. You know, ridership has declined and has not come back. And unfortunately, um, without the offices, because that's basically an office street, without those offices, it's very, very hard to stay in business. So we've had to look for all kinds of other alternatives to keep it going. And obviously, DoorDash and Uber Eats and all that is an integral part of
Mm.
trying to stay alive. But Ramona Street has been different because people actually love going there, sitting, hanging out, having meetings. I've seen lots of city council there having meetings. It's kind of
Sure.
like what they call the third place. It's not home, it's not office, it's that third place where you conduct a lot of your work.
So you bring a good point about University Avenue. How long has
Yeah.
it been now since it's been open or
Over a
reopened?
year,
A year,
over a
okay.
year,
Yeah.
over a year.
And
And
so
Lululemon just left.
sure.
Restoration Hardware is leaving as soon as their place in the mall is ready. Lululemon went to the mall as well. And you know what? When you go to the mall, you don't park in front of the stores, you park in the parking lot and you walk, right?
Sure.
So it's different, but there's like so many different stores to go to that people are more attracted to go there. And it kind of makes sense. And what do you have on University Avenue? You have a bunch of rug stores that no one is ever inside. Lots and lots of vacancies. We probably have the highest vacancy rate in history right now.
Yeah, I think you're
And
actually right.
offices aren't back. And so it's
Yeah.
really a sad state of
Yeah.
affairs. So we've been
Yeah.
able to create this little tiny haven. It doesn't affect anybody because we're all kind of on the same page there and we all work together. We're all friends. I have like a little flower shop that opened up right next door to me. I help them. I put 10% discount coupons for them next to my register. Pamela Walsh, who's an amazing art gallery right next door also. She wants to do a lot of sort of work with the other galleries where the old Pace was. There's another gallery coming in and across the street, and they
Yeah.
want to do stuff like on Ramona Street, which I think, at culture, the arts, food, drink, people. I mean, I really think it's a win-win for
Mm.
the city of Palo Alto. And, I love Palo Alto. I only came here because my three kids went to Stanford and I want to see it come back to its former glory. When I came here 20 years ago, it was a vibrant city,
Yeah.
and we've lost it. And I'd like to get it back.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you on that. So the University Avenue is actually a really good um test, right? So
It is.
so you're there more than I am. So tell me like
Yeah.
now that it's open, what effect, if any, has it had on retail sales, or do you know?
Oh, I can tell you because I go do my nails on University Avenue for my manicures. I can never find a parking place ever. I usually end up parking in a public parking lot and walking 2 or 3 blocks. And I go because I want to help them. It's a small family business also, and I try to help people in our neighborhood.
Sure.
But like it's really not a very interesting street anymore. The only thing that's like happening are the restaurants, but now they have the disadvantage of cars driving by with smoke as you eat on a parklet. Smoke comes in your mouth. Cars honk or their engines are loud. It's not the same experience. No matter what anybody says, it's not as positive of an experience to dine on a parklet with an open to car street versus a closed to car street.
So, do you know, like for the other retailers, I know some of the people move to the malls and totally get
Yeah,
that. But
yeah,
for the folks that have stayed,
yeah.
now the street has been open, what effect has it had on their sales? Do you know?
Um, I mean, they were doing better the third year of COVID than obviously the first two when all of us were closed. And they continue like it's slow, real slow. Most of them are suffering from high rents, I can tell you that, and not sure how long they can hang in there. Um, the foot traffic is less than I think they would like. And but I would say probably their biggest handicap is very high rents.
Okay, but
Yeah,
the business hasn't improved since the street's been open.
I honestly, I don't think so.
Mm,
I think you basically go to the store you want to go to. If you feel like going and getting some shoes from Keen, you're going to go whether it's open or closed to cars. Okay.
mm,
If you want to go to the Real, which is, an upscale store, you're going to
mhm.
go because that's where they are. It has nothing to do with closed or open streets. And I think that the stores that are on closed streets, they may need to readapt their hours of operation. But many of them are kind of like not willing to change their way of doing things. And I think that's an important thing to reassess.
So, what's your some people have talked to me about the streets kind of dirty, I mean, in terms of, other types of things. What's
Yeah.
your thoughts in terms of how's the how's that situation? How's the, unhoused folks there? I mean, how's that kind of affecting things in your opinion?
Well, fortunately, on Ramona, we're good.
Mm,
We're not dirty. And in fact, I had a meeting with somebody else the other day, and they're like, "Oh, this is clean." I'm like, "Yeah, we all clean it, you
yeah.
know." So I think the thing about definition of knowing where we're going, we've been in limbo for quite some time, and I think the city needs to just get their act together
Mm,
and make a decision. And just kind of let us know, yes, this is what we want to do. This is the vision we have. This is how
mm,
we want to beautify. Like we are all dying to like get this really cool like string lights across from one side to the other, just like they do in Mountain View on Castro Street, and have more fun things to do. Like at my Coupa at Stanford Research Park, we have ping pong tables, and we have like little basketball things. We have stuff that people enjoy when they want to go, and they want to relax. They want to get away from their
mm,
typical work day. And we could, but the thing is, we don't know what's going to happen. We never know what's going to happen. Everything's always temporary. We need to have definition. And I'm hoping the city and the city council understand that times have changed, life has
mhm,
changed, and people want this. And back in the days of the pandemic, we did a change.org survey, and we got over 6,000 responses that were in pro of pedestrian friendly streets. And that's not changing. I didn't want to bombard city council with more surveys and more emails because you guys have a lot on your plate, and
mhm.
I respect that. But as far as if you want to do what the community wants, the people who elected you, they want this. They want pedestrian friendly streets.
Um, so do you have an opinion about Cal Lab? I mean, I know you don't necessarily have a site there, but you know,
Yeah.
what is your thoughts about the closed versus open debate?
I think one of the biggest critiques of CalAV is that there's not a coherent decorative aspect of the street. So it looks kind of underwhelming. I think if the city would finally make a decision, let's go with this, you will have a destination for
Mm,
people to go to, a reason to go to that part of Palo Alto. I think it's not just about my friends at Tarun or La Bodeguita that kind of have opposing positions, or Zareen's and Protege, first of all, is on an open street. So I don't get the people that are on open streets kind of interfering in this. Doesn't make sense to me. Like Pro Bono Cafes on Birch Street. Birch Street's open to two-way traffic. I don't know why they're opining here. Because it's really about the stores that are right there. And Country Sun, they wanted to retire. They couldn't find a buyer. It's unfortunate. But hopefully somebody good will come in. Maybe we can do a museum or something.
mm,
But we'll have to see. But I really think that everyone wants it to look beautiful, and have sort of that pull of like, wow, that street is so cool, let's go there.
mhm,
Just like Santana Row, just like in Mountain View, they've got all those blocks on Castro Street where everybody hangs out. I mean, I go there a lot because I go to the Mountain View Performing Arts Center. And it's very vivacious and it's very nice, and they've got string lights across all the streets, and it looks really good. So
mhm.
um, I'm hoping that Palo Alto wants to, get on the bandwagon. Look at Third Street Mall in Santa Monica, LA. It's been there forever and it's fabulous and it's vibrant and full of life and music and people and fun times. And Santa Barbara also, you know, has really nice pedestrian friendly streets. I know we can do it. And I know you have a lot of businesses, like there's a lot of back and forth, but retail needs to readapt. Okay. There's Amazon, there's just shop online. There's like so many other factors to consider, plus hours of operation. You
Sure.
have tons of parking on parallel streets for CalAV, so there's no issue there. But if you do reopen it to traffic, you basically lost what the last 3.5 years have taught us. And it would be a shame. It's a missed opportunity and it won't come back if you don't do it. A lot of the people there can simply move to other cities that are cooler, you know, and
Mhm.
they will. Why not? I mean, I know a lot of people are moving to San Carlos and others going, you know, Murphy Street and Sunnyvale, and San Jose's got a lot of pedestrian friendly streets. So, you know, Palo
Sure.
Alto should get with the program, honestly.
Sure. So, when I asked this, because you mentioned you talked about
Hmm.
how like lack of a coherent plan, even for like University Avenue, I've talked, and you may not have heard me on the city council, but I've
Hmm.
asked the city manager, like, let's make this not a 5 year plan, but he's talking about like, trying to get this thing settled in 5 years, right? Which is just every time I talk to him, it keeps getting longer. I'm like, what the heck,
I
right?
know. Yeah.
And because I think we should, I think we could decide in 6 months to get this thing locked down so people know what to
Yeah.
expect. But
Totally.
he's
Yeah.
of the opinion that it's just not possible, and it's almost like every time I talk to him, it seems like it's getting longer, right? And
Well, I think you could push your consultants and give them a deadline and just
mm,
say, like, we need to know, and people start working on, okay, what do we want the street to look like? I mean, you guys haven't done anything to beautify University Avenue, and that's
mm,
part of the problem. You know, the downtown is like it's just ugly. You
yeah,
know? And so, like, at least let's make Ramona pretty because the main avenue there, open to cars, is really not interesting. All
yeah,
right.
yeah. By the
You
way,
know,
how has well, I guess first of all, do you think the city manager is right that it's impossible to come up with a coherent design in less than 5 years?
oh, I think that you can do what you want to do, what you set out to do. I think you just need to have the manpower and the right people working.
Mm,
I think you can do what you set out to do.
mm,
And I know the merchants that are for this, they will be right there with you, willing to work together.
so
I am always on every single meeting because I adopted Palo Alto as my new home when my kids went to Stanford. And I just remember being so impressed in the beginning of how vibrant it was and everything was full and it was really hopping. And we've lost it.
yeah,
We're not the in spot anymore. And I don't like that. I want it to come back, but we
yeah,
got to give
I'm
people a
I'm to,
reason.
I'm totally with you
you
on
know,
that. Although, some people I talk to, they kind of feel like Palo Alto is this thing that everyone wants to be at, and I'm thinking like maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago, maybe, but not now. And so I think we've kind of lost our mojo, but
yeah.
like even some of my colleagues don't think so, right? They kind of feel like we'll forever be the special place no matter what happens. And I'm like, I don't know about that, right? I feel
No.
like I feel like we lost it because I feel like, you know, this used to be the place to be, right? But not,
Imagine if Stanford was not at our feet.
yeah,
What would we have? Think about it.
yeah,
We have an aging population, okay? And the youth comes from the university, but we're not giving them anything to go do
yeah,
or, like feel the vibe with. That's
yeah,
what they want. I don't know if you remember the days of Miyake or not, but
yeah, yeah.
like that was a hopping
I remember
place,
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember Koopa. I mean, I could not. I used to open at 7 every day and shut the doors at 11 at night. Now it's a ghost town after 9.
yeah,
You know, it's just we need to get our mojo back,
yeah,
honestly. And I really think pedestrian friendly streets are part of that little piece of a safe place.
Mm,
where people can hang out and have fun. And then, we could start doing things like having the musicians play and like just make it life,
mm,
make it good for people, the quality of life. I really think we can do this.
mm,
And I know that CalAb is much more complex because you've got all these opposing parties. But again, think about, don't live a missed opportunity, because yeah, you can open it up. Will things change? Probably get worse. Very, just like University Avenue, you've got over a year now of reopening the street. What benefit did it bring? Your sales tax is most likely down compared to the year before.
mm.
Whereas the pedestrian friendly streets, sales tax is probably up. You guys have the numbers. Check it out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I hope staff actually has them ready. So, so that's my thing.
Yeah, for tomorrow, I think you need them.
I hope so. I hope so. But you never
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
It could be like, oh yeah, we
And
need another year to figure this out.
yeah, and I'm hoping, look, I know, okay, you're voting on two streets tomorrow. Ramona is really different than CalApp because we're all basically on the same page there. We have no opposition. Our barber loves it. He sits out there in front of the Cardinal Hotel and he courts people all day while he's not cutting hair and
mm,
whatever. Pamela Walsh, she's happy as a bee, and now we will have someone moving into the or like remodeling the old pro space, so we're going to have like even more vibrancy. So don't take away what works.
mm,
That's really my main message, because it works and we all work together. And Nola's my dear friend Greg St. Clair, and Osteria with Giuseppe, who by the way is the owner of Cafe Riace. So I doubt very highly he's against closing CalApp because he loves the closed street. Okay.
mm,
I think that name was put in there, but it's not really the case.
mm,
And Tim from Tea Time, I mean, like he said, if it wasn't for the closed street, I couldn't be here anymore because none of my customers want to sit inside anymore. And you guys should know this. I mean, and I go to Ramona every single day. My office is there, and literally everyone sits outside. And only if there's no tables outside will they come and sit inside. Nobody wants to be inside. And
mm,
before we had this outside, everybody, of course, was inside. But
mhm,
now they choose to be outdoors. It's safer. And you know that. They've proven that COVID is an airborne disease. So if you're outdoors, the chances of you catching somebody else's infection is much lower.
mm.
So, and besides that, our California sunshine, the beautiful blue skies, the beautiful surroundings, everything. Don't take it away from people. Why would you? We're not harming anybody.
Yeah. Um, so uh I think you talked earlier about one of the fundamental issues we have, which is that the office, people still haven't returned to the office. And so in some ways that's kind of like a problem beyond us, right? I mean, it's not something that we can necessarily solve.
Times
Um,
have changed,
yeah.
Greg. It's difficult. They're going to have to start to change the uses of the buildings, but that's longer term until city council decides like what do they want,
Mhm,
like what type of tenant you want and how you need to change your codes and all. That's another animal.
mm.
um but don't expect offices back again. There's just going to be hybrid and um yeah. And besides the fact that look how many people have been laid off. So
Yeah, actually that's another thing that yeah, I was at a talk or panel earlier today. It's called Big Tech in Big Trouble.
yeah,
And you might think that that panel might be talking about the fact that all these big tech companies have been laying off people, but
yeah,
the panel was actually not about that. It was
yeah,
about how um big tech's evil, and they need to regulate them more, and they're they're causing too much trouble and stuff like that.
yeah.
And but not many people have actually. I mean, inside tech, we see it, right? There's layoffs like you can't believe, like almost every major, and not just major, but every tech
Yeah.
company. has had
Yeah.
layoffs. And
And you saw Google just stop their plan to
oh
build
yeah,
all that housing.
oh yeah,
That's big time disappointing because that means that they're scaling back
yeah,
also.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
even the mighty Google is pulling back, right?
Hmm.
And so that's something which I remember there was a time like many years ago when people were worried about companies moving to Texas and this and that. And it's almost like that stage again, right? I think California, we
Yeah,
actually lost population. We actually lost a
we did.
congressional seat
Yeah.
because yeah, and
I think we lost a 500,000 people, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken.
and
Yeah.
there seems to be continually this kind of move
Yeah,
out of here and I think that's something that people haven't realized is that um it's a competitive world out there, right? I mean, other states
it
want to have
is.
this kind of companies and this kind of work because it's relatively high paying, doesn't cause any pollution, and so there's a lot of incentives. And we used to have Palantir, and it was funny when they moved. Some people here celebrated, right? Tesla, they moved the headquarters to Austin, and you know, people were good with that. And I think it's kind of sad that
It is
um,
sad. I
that
mean, they did it for tax reasons because we pay some of the highest taxes in the world in this area, and housing here is way too expensive. You pay way more than what it's worth compared to other cities like
mm,
Los Angeles, for example. I wish there'd be some kind of rebalancing of these things to make it more desirable, especially to young grads and stuff. But literally, I mean, who can afford to live here? It's sort of like the average worker who
yeah.
works for an hourly wage cannot afford to live nearby because there simply are no apartments that are about $1,500 a month to rent. Everything is up in the 4,000s. They can't afford it.
I tried to get I knew some folks from Stanford who were
Mm-hmm.
starting companies and they were looking for office space and I was trying to get them to locate here in Palo Alto and um yeah and one went to SF, even despite all the issues in SF, right? I'm like I was kind of like
Yeah,
what? Like where'd you go? And then
right.
another one went to San Mateo because it's kind of in between.
Mm-hmm.
But like I've been trying to get them to come here to stay here, right? But they went to school here, right? And
Yeah,
but it's been hard, right? It's super hard. And
yeah.
it wasn't like that before, right? Before it was like, oh, we would definitely want to be in Palo Alto, right? But it's not like that anymore.
No, because we've lost our glamour. We are not attractive anymore. And like I said, walk down University Avenue and take a look. I mean, there's just like no reason to go there. You know what I mean? Unless you're going to go eat. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
And, if you guys don't appreciate the restaurants and show that appreciation by like helping, then they also will leave.
Yeah.
It's easy to find other spaces that have that that sort of combination of things that you look for, sort of like
Mhm.
a nice street with interesting stuff and pedestrian friendly and that whole vibe.
Mm.
And it's funny, I went to First Friday in Los Altos just 2 days ago. And it's a very different kind of place. There's small shops and there's a lot of variety, but they also have very big spaces where they can place bands
Mm.
and kind of like these plazas. We don't have that in Palo Alto. The only one we have is the Plaza, and that's it.
Mm.
So we need to take advantage of that half a Ramona because that could be a really big draw. And then
Mm.
imagine Pamela Walsh working with, the art center that's there on Forest and Ramona, along with the two galleries that are coming up on Hamilton. And like just get this vibe, and then bring music, and well, we already are like lots of restaurants there, and it could just be a really cool thing to pull people to come
Mm.
downtown. So
So I gotta jump to my next office hour in about a minute here.
sure.
Any last thoughts or suggestions or advice?
Yeah, let's try to move in a fast track fashion. let's make a decision tomorrow. And I'm hopefully it's going to be a positive decision. And then let's fast track. And I can assure you, I will bring you a team of people who want this and can help.
Hmm. Okay,
Okay.
great. Okay, Nancy. Well,
All
thank you
right.
so much for your time and advice. I really appreciate
Okay.
it.
All right. Thanks,
Okay.
Greg. Thanks for
Bye-bye.
your time. Bye
Sure.
bye.